What's going on with you guys? You know who it is. It's your boy John Mike from down here at Dynamics Music, and it is Musician Mondays again. And we're still hanging out in Mainstage. We're gonna dig around this a little bit more. I hope you guys have been enjoying it. The last few videos have kind of been about Mainstage, so we're gonna keep in this vein for just a little while longer because we want to make sure that we exhaust all of the capabilities of this particular program. I've been studying it. I have been playing around. I've been uh, experimenting with different things, trying to just push this program to the limits. This program is just amazing. That's why I like digging into it because it's a $29 program. I mean, we spend more than $29 at McDonald's in a month. Why not spend 29 bucks and invest into some software as a musician that would kind of help you take your music to the next level? Um, I have personally took the plunge and went 100% software instrument, soft synth, as we say, um, in my setup. I bought a couple of MIDI controllers, 188 key, 161 key. I use Mainstage on my computer, and every time I perform, this is pretty much the setup that I'm running, the setup that I'm using. And so um, it's worked out beautifully for me. I've been pretty much soft synth 100% for the last pretty much about 2 years. I've been using Mainstage and Logic and some other softwares, but I've kind of settled in on Mainstage for my live performance. Logic I use now primarily just in the studio, and for creating, backing tracks and stems and things of that nature. But Mainstage has become my main software for performance and ministry or church services, things that I do and when I play. Um, when I first started out using the software, using Mainstage, I just used it as a supplement. I use it for colors, strings, things of that nature. But I didn't want to use it, 100% yet. But once I got comfortable with it, I just nixed everything else and went 100% soft synth because I saw the value in it as opposed to buying a motif and spending a couple $1,000s on a good keyboard. I spent a few $100s on a couple of controllers and the sounds that I wanted, and it's worked out wonderfully for me for the last few years. So what we want to talk about today, like I said in the video, was in the video description is complex layering. Putting together which what is layering? You have to think about what is layering. A layer in terms of music, for those of you who just don't know, there are people that just don't know what layering is. So for those people, I'm going to kind of try to explain it just briefly. It's basically when you combine uh, t- you know, one, two or more sounds together to kind of get a desired effect. Basically, the desired effect is to add some more depth, some more warmth, some more brightness to, instead of dull sound, to kind of enhance your sound. Most common layers are maybe a piano and strings, or a piano and brass, or a piano and an electric piano. You put them together to kind of get a desired effect. Maybe you want to put, a pad and a specific type of pad and an electric piano together to kind of get a desired effect. That's the whole purpose of layering, the whole purpose of doing that to, add some desired effect, as you heard on the beginning of the video as I was doing. So that's the main thing you want to try to do. The beauty of using software like Mainstage, it allows you to, within limits, to create some pretty complex layers, as you heard in the beginning. The way I say within limit, reason I say within limits is because it's limited based on your CPU. And as you can see with this template, I added a CPU meter, which I will explain the importance of it later on down the line in this video. Um, it is very, very key that you watch that as you're adding layers, and you'll see why in a second. But the like I said, main stage affords you that ability to just create some pretty nice sounding layers. Now, these layers that I created, are from I do have the MKS software, MK Sensation, by gospel musicians. Let's take a look at that. This is the MKS software. Oh, I closed it out. Let's open it back up. Three, two, one. There it is. And all I'm using on this particular layer is just the power grand sound. Now, if those of you who don't know what this MK Sensation is, this is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful plugin made by the good folks over at Gospel Musicians. They sampled, and Jamal Hartwell, they sampled the MKS 20 module, very popular module in gospel music, very popular sound set that's on all of the early, well, at least the early gospel recordings I can remember because I'm only 30 years old, 31 years old. So, but all the early gospel music commercial songs that I remember back in the day, this sound was key and instrumental in a lot of those songs. And even now, its resurgence is coming back in the recordings from the last probably 5 to 6 years. It's becoming more popular, and people are starting to use it a whole lot more. So, what Jamal and them did, they sampled this sound for us. There are some people that are into the authenticity of things that believe that this is not a good um, representation of it. But my opinion on it is totally different. I've heard the real thing versus this, and I really enjoy it. I really think that it is an accurate representation. I can't tell the difference. I've even seen some people that are using it in live recordings, and people would think and swear that they're actually hearing the real MKS, but it's actually the software. So, but this is not a video about the MKS. This is just about layering. But I'm using this sound. I wanted to give them a plug because I really like this plugin. So I wanted to give them a shout out on it. They did an awesome job with it. And you guys should check them out. Gospelmusicians.com. MK Sensation. Check it out. Great plugin. So let's close this. We had the Power Grand on one layer. And I have a friend that his name is Junior Lee. He actually sampled some sounds off of the motif, and I was able to get those from him. He sampled several of the sounds. Uh, Specifically for those of you who have used the motif, you're probably familiar with these sounds. The forest sound, the horizon sound, and it's mixed with another sound called whisper. Um, the MK80, that's actually off of the JV, I think it's the 1080 module, is one of the JV series modules. The Profi sound off of the motif, the analog sound, and a string patch called background. All wonderful, beautiful sounding. I mean, he sampled these really good because I actually compared them against the originals, and they sound just like they do on the motif. And so I was able to get those from him. I'll put his contact information um, in the description, and you guys can hit him up if you're interested in getting these sounds from him. Just give him a holler. Like I said, his information will be in the description of this video. So let me show you what I do, what I did in terms of creating these layers. What I actually did was I split layers to different zones or different areas, octaves on the keyboard. So when I go to one octave, I have a certain sound, and when I go to another, more layers come in. Okay, so what I did was on the lower octaves, I have the piano grand, power grand, and the analog sound. That's the only ones you're hearing. Is the piano grand, the piano power grand, and the analog sound. It allows you to create some nice talking music, mood music, or something good for worship. and so on and so forth. But I have it also where once I go up past a certain octave, the higher octaves, then whisper, well, the horizon and whisper and the forest come in. And underlaying all of that is the MK80. It's in there. It's just very low to kind of give a subtle effect uh, to the piano to kind of give that little extra layer. I turned it down very very low in the mix. It's like if I play it, you're not even really even seeing it jump much on the meter, but it's in there. But it adds that effect to the piano, a little subtle layer effect to that piano. Now, but what I did was once you go up here in the higher register, you start to hear the forest, start to hear the other layers come in. So that gives me a nice little palette to kind of work with when I'm playing. I can start down low, and I may come up and get a high octave. To kind of give the ears, the listener, something a little bit more to listen to, kind of a change like, oh, that was good. And then you kind of spring them back down. So on and so forth. You kind of get the picture. So let's jump in and let's see how I did this because you don't have to have extra samples and you don't have to have motif samples and the MKS 20 to be able to do this. You can do this and create these same type of effects with the stock sounds that come inside of Mainstage. No third party, anything needed. You can just do it all from right inside of Mainstage. I just chose to use these sounds because these are iconic gospel music sounds, the power grand or the full grand, the piano one and piano two and all of those. These are classic gospel musician sounds. So I was able to find this guy and he got these samples and I was able to get them from him. And then even if you don't use them, there's other people, that sell sample libraries from the motif or the chronos. And you can find them, Google them, eBay, Facebook. It's easy to find. If you want these sounds, you can find them somewhere from somebody. But anyway, so let's jump into how it's done. So what I've done here, I created a set level that just says sounds. All right. And all of the sounds that I want to use in my layers are on this set or on this, this level or what have you. So when I click on that, I have access to every one of those sounds. And so I created, uh, looks like about 6 or 7, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7, 8 different layers, 8 different channel strips. And by doing that, all you have to do, for those of you who don't know who are new to Mainstage, you hit the plus here in the corner, and you up here where it says number, you add the amount of channel strips. Like I'll hit create and add one, and it pops up here, and then you're able to use this section, the channel strip library, to add instruments, whether it's a piano or organ or synth or whatever, or you can hit here on the instrument where it says instrument and go down to like AU instruments if you have some third party stuff you want to use. All right there. All right. So let me delete that channel strip. All right, great. So what you want to do is once you've determined the amount of layers and you found some sounds that kind of um impress you and you want to use and you want to layer, what you do is go here and you click on any one of these channel strips. It doesn't matter which one. It really doesn't at all. I'm just going to click on the MKS layer. And then you go here where it says layer editor. Very simple. And then here you will see representation of all of your layers for all of your channel strips on your piano. And from here, it's pretty doggone simple to set up your layers. Um, it's good to probably make each one of these channel strips a different color by going, like for instance, with the MKS. If I wanted to change the color of it, I would go to attributes and I would say make this one green, right? So now when I go back to the editor, I see a green representation of the MKS. Why this is important is because when you in the middle of the layer editor, right here in the midsection of everything, you can see the names of the sounds. But when you scroll down to the bottom, they disappear. And so you have to guess if they're all yellow, which one is Profi, which one is analog, which one is this. But if you've color coded them, then you kind of know. I personally set this up quite fast, so I didn't um, worry about colors because I kind of was setting it up as I was going, adding them and setting them up as I was going. So I didn't color code a lot of these, but it's good to do that because, like I said, you can lose the names of them once you move out of range or what have you. So what you want to do is pick the layer that you want to adjust, like say horizon, or let's just say the MKS for example, since I just did this, because we need to be able to see these keys or what have you. And what you want to do is just go to the end until you right to the edge till you get this little cursor type thing. Click and hold, and then start dragging to the direction that you want. Like if you want to move this layer up the piano, then you move it to the right. And let me get my keyboard back so I can see where I'm moving it. So as I move this, it disappears. So I go to my lower layers. If I go down, the MKS disappears. You know, now it's back. So just bring that back down. Good. All right. So as you can see, that's the simple way to move the layer. So you want to determine where you want the layer to come in. I mean, you could create some pretty complex things with this. If you want to do a bass patch and you want it to be on the lower end, you find a nice bass patch that you like. Then you can come here and do the opposite. Come to the end and just drag it down to where you want that bass layer to come in, say the mid part of the keyboard or whatever. And you just test it out till you find the layer sections that have them layered the way that you want them. Like I said, I chose to bring the horizon and the forest sound all the way up to the some of the higher octaves. This is right up the last one, two, three, four, like 5 octaves. Is just those sounds, and so I have all of this other low range to kind of work with. Then when I want my other layers to come in, I just go up higher. And then I come back down. And one of the reasons I did that is because I found that as I go, as I went down, as I had them all layered in the middle, just everything layered, on top of each other. I found that when I was down here in the lower ranges, especially with like the horizon sound and even the forest, because of the way the sound is, it was very overwhelming. The sound of it, when it came in, it just kind of, in the lower ranges, just too much going on. So I played around with the octaves until I found the perfect mix that suited my taste. And that's what you kind of want to do. Now, back to the other thing I was talking about earlier about CPU management. You can add as many layers as you want. This software, Mainstage, allows you can create 100 layers if you wanted to. If your CPU would allow it, you could do it. Um, and you can make it as simple or as complex as you want it, But what you what you have to be mindful of is your CPU, because when the more voices you add in to the mix, um, the more CPU resources it's going to use. And I'll give you an example. As I start playing, I want you to watch this CPU meter here. Let me move this mouse out the way. Immediately, you see it jumped up just by playing two chords. It jumped up to 60% of my CPU is being used now, and I know that probably has something to do with the fact that I'm video recording right now because it's normally not that much CPU being used as I'm playing. But because I'm doing video recording and I'm doing this all on the same computer, I'm using a little bit more of my resources just by default because even with it not being on, I'm hovering at around, without me playing anything, I'm hovering now at, 30 some percent, without me doing anything. Um, and so, that's coming from the video recording. But anyway, but as you can see, as I start playing and other layers start coming in, that CPU begins to go up higher. And what'll happen is, the more layers you have, as your CPU begins to spike, then the sound will be it won't drop out, but it will distort. It will, it won't, like, you won't lose polyphony, but what it will do is you will, like, the sound will drop out completely. So once you spike your computer. So that is something to be mindful of. Put you a CPU meter inside of your layout when you're creating your templates or putting your template together. Put you something there that you can use to monitor that CPU. Other thing I've noticed, is, especially when using layers, not even and sometimes not even with using layers, when you utilize the sustain pedal, you're holding notes and sustaining notes, and when you get to using a lot of notes, it'll make that CPU spike a whole lot quicker. I'll give you an example. Just playing one note, and I add more notes in. See how that just happened there? That's what I'm talking about. How it just spiked out because I was just holding down the sustain pedal. So that's something to kind of watch out when you're using multiple layers. Memory is another factor. If you're working with a system, I personally have 8 gigs of RAM. So as you can look up here and see where I have memory, I'm not even using. I'm using 29% of my memory. you know I'm using 29% of my memory on my computer, so I still got a lot of headroom. I could add some more plugins, some more sounds if I wanted to, and not have to worry about crashing, my memory crashing out via memory. But if you're working on a computer like a MacBook, like not a MacBook Pro, but like a regular MacBook or something like that, or a MacBook Air, where you don't have a lot of memory, say you got 2 gigs of RAM, or 4 gigs of RAM or something like that, um, then you definitely want to monitor your memory as you're going forth and playing or adding stuff and creating layers. So those are some quick little tips and some quick little ways that you uh, can accomplish this. Accomplish layering, because I think, like, as you've heard and have seen, it can add so many more dimensions to your sound, into your playing, and into your music. I mean, you can kind of get crazy with it. You can do brass leads. You can do whatever you want to kind of create that ultimate sound. And I utilize this particular combination inside worship a whole lot. This is what I use. Plus or minus a couple of sounds. I like to kind of use, and I play around it. You know, per song. So that's all for today, boys and girls. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this is something that you can take and use, and maybe making you lean more towards using soft synths and jumping into using Mainstage as a option for your music. And I hope this makes you a better musician. So you know. Make sure you check out my template store. I sell templates for Mainstage 3 on my website, dynamicsmusic.net. Check it out. Go on there. I have plenty of templates. I have this template available. Just uploaded it today. You can check it out. Now, you don't get the sounds with it. You got to holler at Junior Lee about that. Um, but this template is available. This layout basically is what you would be purchasing. Is this particular layout? If this looks like something that you'd be interested, it's got the volume sliders, and you got 4 pads for, like, triggering some playback tracks and some other things that you kind of can do with it. But the sounds don't come with it. Now, if you have the MKS um, plugin, then this will work for you. And if you have all of the sounds that I have, then this will work 100% for you. But if you just like the layout and you want to use your own sounds and map it the way you want to, go ahead, grab it. It's on the website for $199. Check it out. And I got some other ones on there that are actually specific to some instruments. Like I have one for the Novation launch pad, not launch pad, but Novation launch key and the Novation Impulse, and I have some different other setups you can check out on there that are pretty decent that I just uploaded today. So check those out. Comment, subscribe if you like what you're watching. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. I try to do these Musician Mondays at least twice a month to try to kind of, help us musicians kind of get into the 21st century or 22nd, whichever one this is. I don't know. They were saying 21st century when I was a boy, so I guess this is the 22nd century. I don't know. Anyway, um, check out the site, subscribe, give me the thumbs up. You know how it goes. Uh, Share this on your Facebook page, Twitter. Um, Hit me up on Twitter, mention me on Twitter, follow me. You know all that good stuff that everybody says at the end of their videos. So I'm finna be out, finna leave, finna get done for the day. So I hope you enjoyed it. Holla at your boy.